welcome to another layout. Now this one, I'll be honest with you, I just had a blast just creating pretty things, and it's been a bit of a week for me, so I really enjoyed just letting go. Now, I cut these, you may have seen a post on Facebook in the group where I was having issues with my Cricut and they didn't cut out properly, but I'm not a huge fan of just wasting it, so I sat and fussy cut them. I know, you're probably thinking to yourself, Karen, you do so many things, why waste your time on that one thing? Well, because I like the flowers for a start, and I'd already wasted one page, so I figured, I'll just fussy cut them. So while I was waiting for videos to download, I cut them out, and then I decided, you know what, I haven't used my distress inks for a while. I always use my oxides, and I've got all the inks sitting there. Why not use them this time? So I decided I wanted a sort of watercolored look. So that's why I went for the distress inks. Now, if you're not familiar with distress oxides, distress inks, all that sort of jazz, I'll explain the difference. Distress inks are more like a watercolor. They're transparent. So they're not, I'm going to say they're not buildable. They in a watercolor way, you can get them to darken up in certain places. Like you can do that. Like you can see here, I'm adding a little bit. Now these, I'll be honest with you, there is no gesso or anything on these. These are just American Crafts white textured cardstock. They've just been cut out straight up, and I am adding so much water. I've got to be honest, I sort of started to get a bit worried here because I'm like, this cardstock is not designed to take this much water. But, you know what? They would have ended up in the bin anyway, so let's see what we could do with it. So I pulled out a shopping list of colours. I'm going to rattle them off for you just so you realise how many I pulled out. I went Barn Door, Spun Sugar, Picked Raspberry, Festive Berries, Rusty Hinge, Speckled Egg, Peacock Feathers, Spiced Marmalade, Cracked Pistachio, Worn Lipstick, Abandoned Coral, and KITSCH Flamingo. Just saying, I used a few colours. So the reason I used so many colours on this one is because I didn't want it to just look like a picked raspberry flower. I wanted it to have depth. Now, I know I just said you can't build layers with distress inks, okay? But as you can see here, now I've just dried those off. There was still a few that needed a bit of extra drying off. They were actually holding on. They were okay. There was only one that sort of tore a little bit. Now, if you look at these, you can see where I've managed to layer up different colours on top of each other, and it's giving you very much a watercoloured effect. Now, I'm coming back in because I wanted a little bit more yellow on here, and you can do it. But if you're after a super crisp, if you're not after a watercoloured look, this is not your technique. I find that the distress inks are really good for this sort of thing. They give you a really watercoloured look. But when I do a background, I like it to be bold. Very rarely do I sort of go with a pale pastel sort of. I do them, but not very often. So that's what I sort of challenged myself with these flowers, because they've been sitting on my desk now for over a week in that little dish, and I've just been going, you annoyed me because I had to fussy cut you. So I moved on, and I've done 6 or 7 other layouts, and then I came back to them because I was fully up to date with all my layouts, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put some time and some love into these and see if we can't come up with a good layout. Now, it just so happens, before I ran out of I ran out of yellow ink in my Epson printer, my photo printer. So the photos I have printed is all I can use until my ink arrives. I don't know about you, but that bugs me so bad. But Anyway, so I decided I'll use these flowers, and I just happened to notice that there was a few photos of Jen when she was really, really young. She was maybe one, probably, yeah, I would say this was probably 2012, I'm guessing these photos were. Off the top of my head, I don't have the dates and stuff in front of me, so I basically decided that I was going to use these florals, and that sort of picked the colour tone for it. And when it come to the leaves, I ended up using speckled egg, peacock feathers, and cracked pistachio. I know, you don't get peacock feathered leaves, but you know what? I thought if I just mix the three together, let's see what we get. And I was sort of channeling those. I've actually done another layout like this, and I channeled the same thing. And one day I'll actually hit it on the mark. But remember back in the late 80s, early 90s, and there was those really fake trees. Well, here in Australia we had these really fake trees, and they were like the branches were all painted white, and then they'd placed fake leaves all over it, and they were a kind of a blend. I remember my grandmother had one, and it was I think it was apricot and grey, or pink and grey, or I don't know. But anyway, so here's my photos. Yes, I do have some strategically placed post-it notes on these photos, because even though you cannot see anything, I don't want photos like that of my children online. So this is where I decided with the background. Now, this is a gessoed piece of cardstock. It's clear Finnabair clear gesso, and I've put that down. I don't know why. I don't know why I haven't picked up the foundations. I've got the Vicky Bouton foundations paper in card. It's in my cupboard. Guys, I don't even know what I'm thinking. I think I was kind of running with the theory that if it doesn't work, then I haven't wasted a more expensive sheet of paper. That's probably where I was going with this, but giving myself absolutely zero credit for salvaging a layout. Anyway, so I decided that I would go through, and I pulled out my darkroom door small honeycomb stencil, and I decided to sort of just put some speckled egg and a little bit of what colour did I put through there? Was it SPUN sugar maybe? Like, it was really, really light. That's when I realised I needed some texture on there. So I went, yeah, let's whack a bit of texture paste on there, which is the... Oh, I'm so sorry. That was so rude. I apologise. Wow. I have been go all day, I have to be honest. I've all in the craft room though. Like, it's not difficult, let me tell you. But it's kind of, I find myself, as the afternoon gets on, I sort of start to go, okay, this is not the prime time to be doing voiceovers. But given that it's Easter, and so this is Good Friday that I'm doing all of these and doing these voiceovers, and I wanted to basically get myself to a point where the channel can kind of look after itself for 2 days, and I can just have family time. So, which to me is super, super important, and that is why I scrapbook. So now I had to just sit that to the side for a second. I've just added some texture paste. I've added some ink. I've just done sort of the packaging technique, but I'm just using the distress inks. I'm not using oxide, so it makes it harder to overcolor the page. Does that make sense? So it was at this point that I went, you know what? Yep, we're just going to embrace the lighter color, and we're just going to go with it and see what we can create. Just let go of all expectations. And I have to be honest with you, if you're still with me, if I haven't made you fall asleep, honestly, I absolutely love this layout. The way it comes out, even if I'm boring you and you fast forward it, you've got to see the end result. It it looks, for someone that normally embraces the oxides and the really bright colours, it turned out really nice. I really, really like it. So I just created the border colour by using the inks with an offcut of cardstock, and yeah, so you can see I sat that off to the side to let it dry so I could get a true sense of how bright the background was. And is it bright enough? Do I need to bring in some more? There was a couple of spots there that were a lot darker than the others, so I decided I need to fill up my glue bottle, and I'm doing the usual thing that I do. Instead of filling it up, I'm squeezing the living daylights out of it to get glue out of it. And that was really hard, because don't put your glue on before you distress the edges if you're going to distress the edges, because you fill your edge distresser up with glue. And yeah, it wasn't fun to clean, but oh well, we live and we learn. Am I right? Of course. Now, well, that's what I say to myself anyway. Of course I'm right. I am waffling now. Okay, so this is where you can make your flat two-dimensional flowers come alive. Okay, now you can see I'm not using any technical tools. I'm not using anything over the top. This is something that I love to do. I like to create my own ephemera, whether that's using a die, whether that's using, because these leaves are the Tim Holtz, they're the leaves out of the Tim Holtz. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, and I have not written it down. Why did I not write that down? Unbelievable. Anyway, so the flowers, they're just from the Cricut design space. I just pulled those across and cut a couple of them. I think I cut 3 of each different flower. By putting the ink on there differently and rolling and curling the leaves a little bit, just to go in different directions, tucking them behind, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, and just, you know, adding a little bit of foam but underneath them and allowing them to curl and kind of organically fall into each other, if that makes sense. So don't sort of force it. Just, if it goes in there naturally, if there's a little hole and it looks just right, then don't keep fiddling. It works. This particular flower, however, was not going in there easily, and it was not playing the game for me. So all the flowers and everything are all dry at this point, but I'm still being very mindful of overly pressing on things because they really did cop a lot of liquid. So I wanted to create 3 clusters. Now, we often hear anyone waffling on about 3 clusters of flowers or three of anything. What do they call it? The triangle. What's it called? Oh, I can't remember what it's called. You let me know. Comment below. What's it called? Visual triangle. There you go. I beat you to it. Like it was a race. Okay, so basically I wanted to try do a visual triangle, but then I realized, you know what? Over to the side, it needed to be more of an equilateral triangle because I had the 4 photos going across the center, and it totally worked. So I just started adding, and all I'm doing here, this is super sped up. So I'll be honest with you, I was watching a movie while I was doing this, and I was just chilling out, and it all came together. I was really, really happy with it, how it came together. They aren't colours that, well, it's not that they're not colours that I normally use. I think it's just purely because it's a soft baby layout, you know, like she's a toddler at this point, but, you know, and I will let you know, the driveway she's walking across, that's actually the driveway that Taylor has her car parked on all the time. And when my kids were growing up, that driveway, I swear, gave me heart palpitations. And considering I've now had a heart attack, you know, it's probably a joke I shouldn't have, but it literally, yeah, it's one of those exposed aggregate driveways. I don't know if you have those overseas at all, but in the 80s, late 80s, I don't even know why they did it, but they would do a concrete driveway and then they would like rinse off the concrete so that all the rocks would come to the surface. Obviously it was for grip, blah, blah, blah. I tell you what, baby knees, baby feet, the amount of big toes that I've had to try and get a Band-Aid onto, those things, especially when I was doing family daycare, that driveway literally was my nemesis. Could never let the kids run because not flat tack, like they could run a little bit, but don't go crazy because, driveway would trip them up every time. So these days you do a risk assessment and go, yeah, nah, there's no running in the front yard because of that driveway. So that's the driveway she's on. She was so cheeky. She was so serious in the first photo. She was just super, super serious. And then when she realised I was taking her photo, she came running at me. And because by this stage I had an iPhone and it was like click, 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 click. And it was perfect. Now the title I have put on cardstock because it is a rub-on and it's from the 49th and Market Art Options 12 by 12 Rouge Sentiments rub-ons. Now, some people may cry, but I believe use your product to a point that if you have to cut it up to make it work, that's what you do. Because there is no point in buying a product and having it sit on the shelf for the perfect layout. Don't do that because we spend such our hard-earned money on all these beautiful products, whether they are mixed media products or rub-ons or whatever. Make them work for you. You know, get them to, like for this one, I wanted a title. I didn't want to go to the Cricut. I wanted to just see what I had. And these pinks just totally worked with the rest of the page. So because it wouldn't fit as a full rub-on and it looked, the part where it says you more on the bottom, there was a really big gap in there, a very sort of, in my mind, an unnatural width of gap. So I figured if I moved it up a little bit and put it on cardstock, raised it up a little bit, that would work beautifully, and it did. Now, it does look like I'm covering up the bit at the bottom, and I sort of do a little bit, but you can tell what it says. So then I came through and I was at this point where I wanted to start adding some bling and some bits and pieces. Now, I've added bling. Have I added the bling yet? No, I haven't. I decided that I was pulling out my PINKFRESH bling for this one because these colours are perfect. These are the PINKFRESH Studio glitter drops. I used Aqua Blossom, Glitter Drops Aqua, Glitter Drops Blossom, and Jewels in the Glacier. And, they just matched perfectly with we are going to get a storm. You know what? If you can hear the thunder, I apologize. I'm trying to get these voiceovers done, but we did get a warning from, I get mine from Higgins, Storm Chasing. They are amazing. And it was a warning came through and I thought, okay. Anyway, jumped on the radar and it looks like Toowoomba has absolutely copped it. And Taylor come and said to me, what do we do? Like, are we going to get this or not? And I said, well, usually when the storms come from that direction, from the west, and they hit Toowoomba, they either it normally divides the storm, or we don't normally get, by the time it gets to us, it's been killed a bit by hitting the range. Like, it doesn't sort of keep building, if that makes sense. So I love the way I did this border, by the way. Just like water paint. It just it looks so cute. Now I'm just adding some bling. So yeah, anyway, so the storms, they usually sort of fizzle out a little bit and they're not too dramatic by the time they get to us. But this sucker has some giant hail in it, and it appears to just be building and building and building. It's hit Toowoomba, it's gone through Toowoomba, and well, it's now, yeah, it's gone through Toowoomba and it's still building and it's still coming our direction. So the thunder in the background, I apologize if you hear it, but I'm sure you've all heard worse than a little bit of thunder. So, I mean, I'm not a fan of thunderstorms. When I was a child, I had a situation where we had a summer storm this afternoon. I won't get too graphic or anything, but had a summer storm in the afternoon, and I was like 9 at the time. And I was at home with my nana, because at that point my nana was still raising us, and with my dad, and my stepmother was there, but yeah, something happened. She opened the door, blah blah blah. Anyway, there was a massive crack of lightning and a massive flash, and I was standing next to my grandmother when it happened. And then when everyone sort of stopped, I had actually been thrown across the room. So ever since then, I'm perfectly fine, by the way. It didn't obviously hit me directly, but it obviously hit something. I was standing on a metal strip that joined the carpet to the lino, and yeah, obviously that was the wrong thing to be standing on. But I'm totally okay, but thunderstorms do give me the heebie-jeebies, I've got to say. Thunder and lightning, not a fan. I prefer storms during the day though, because at least that way I can see what's going on. But yeah, I can tell you my room is vibrating from the thunder. So it's gonna get a little sketchy soon, I think. But I've already ordered my, look at this, it's coming together. Do you really like it? Let me know if you like it. I absolutely love this layout. Love, love, love it. I haven't used colours like this in a while, and I'm getting to the point where I don't hold back with my product. I'm enjoying using my liquid pearls and my bits of bling instead of going, oh, I better save it. I better only just use 2 or 3, you know. I don't know if I want, no. I'm using it, and it's allowing me to create layouts that I absolutely love. Now this is liquid pearls. I'm going around just adding some little metallic dots here and there. I did add some little leaf fronds, just plain white, just chucked in there just to sort of soften where the floral clusters kind of thing are. So I absolutely love that. And this one, so I use liquid pearls, ballerina, and mermaid. So they turned out, I just love it. I just absolutely love it. I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy it. I'm just gonna, like I say all the time, you can't love every single layout to the point that it's your favorite, but there's always some that just seem to fall together seamlessly and appear to be effortless. So here is my layout, guys. I'm super excited to let you know that we are at 1,418 subscribers. So we've only got to do another 82 subscribers and we're going to have a giveaway. So I am super, super psyched because I want to be able to hit 1,500 and then make May all about it, all about the giveaway and the fun. The other thing that I'm doing as well is there will be another, I think this one goes up after it, but there should be, the second class should be up for the free class that I'm doing with the Over the Rainbow 6x6 paper pad. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll chat to you soon. Bye for now.